Guess who's back? Back again. Dan is back, but also Brock Lesnar, tell a friend, and Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson, and D-Generation X, and Bray Wyatt. Lol, only kidding, he wasn't on this show. Welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast. I am Luke Owen, D-A-D, and this is Professor Dan Layton. Please do get your Ultrachats into WrestleTalk.com/support. Let us know what you thought of the show. Press the thumbs up button. Press subscribe if you haven't already, because we're going to be talking about all of the goings-on with Monday Night Raw, the season premiere of Monday Night Raw, which I thought was a very, very good show this week.
The off-season is now over.
Yeah, I thought
Wrestling
this was
is back.
I thought this was a very, very wonderful show.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put this out on Front Street now. I'm going to set up my stall. I've got one big complaint about this show.
Okay.
And it is the lack of follow-up to the incredibly hot finish to Extreme Rules. Now, I took some heat in my WrestleTalk news review.
From the internet wrestling community?
Yes, I mean,
No,
people going by the comments did not like my review of Monday Night Raw that I actually very much enjoyed and said multiple times throughout I enjoyed. However, because we are in the era of trips, you cannot say a negative thing about the show, otherwise people just call you an AEW shill, it would seem. I also got accused of wokeness in my review because I said I was white. So
I'm sorry, you are.
And so, but however, I want to put the record straight here because I said WWE at the top of the show said,
"Oh, we're going in now."
Oh well, I'm and then we can move past it.
Oh, okay. You want to put it to bed?
I just want to put it to bed now. Some people said, Luke, they never advertised that Bray Wyatt was going to be on the show. Boom! What do you call that? The return of Bray Wyatt, season premiere, Raw tonight.
Yeah.
That is saying we are going to see the return of Bray Wyatt tonight on the season premiere of Monday Night Raw.
Now that is what those words say. Those words say the return of Bray Wyatt. In the corner it says Raw tonight. In fairness, on the commentary, Kevin Patrick was saying Bray Wyatt returned last night and we'll see it again tonight. We'll see the return tonight.
We get to relive the return.
So here's my genuine experience watching the show. I see that graphic and I'm like, oh shit, Bray's gonna be here tonight. And then I heard
the commentary.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then I looked at that and I did my GCSE Media Studies, show me again. I did my GCSE Media Studies literacy of reading the headline. The return of Bray Wyatt is technically true. They are showing us the return of Bray Wyatt.
Absolutely.
They've been very sneaky there.
It's a carny thing to do because wrestling is a carny business. It's a carny business to do. But I would argue that people in the audience did not hear the commentary and they just got that graphic on screen and they reacted big. The debut of the re-debut of Bray Wyatt sold a huge amount of tickets to this episode of Raw. People went to this show because they were expecting the next follow-up.
I went to bed last night very excited to watch this show, in no small part because I was curious what would happen next with Bray. So to be presented, I did have that immediate reaction of, oh, we're going to get something. And then, what we did get was quite pleased with. But once you're told something's going to happen, and it was very much
Yeah, I think they must have known it was going to be a huge thing. And to do nothing, I think is an actively terrible decision.
I don't go that far. I did watch your review. I agree with most of it. I don't think it was that bad.
I thought it was a fumbling of the ball.
We'll get to it, I'm sure.
But we won't, Dan, because nothing happened on this show.
That's not true. I wrote things down about it.
I know. I'm being facetious.
You're joshing, and it's
I am
working.
being facetious, of course. But this episode is also sponsored. If you're in the mood to click some links, why not click the link to Surfshark, because you can get 83% off. That's right, 83% off. I don't know what you're thinking. What a deal already.
Oh, I couldn't ask for a better deal.
What if I say I give you a month free?
That is a better deal.
What if I gave you 2 months free?
It's just getting better and better.
What if I give you 3 months free?
I'd tell you to go outside and get some fresh air because surely you're talking crazy.
Use our promo code WT Podcast. Use that link in the video description down below. Thank you very much, Surfshark. We will go into a little more detail about that after your Ultra Chats. However, our big talking point today, I thought it was going to be the Good Brothers. I thought it was going to be Bullet Club reuniting on Monday Night Raw, returning to the company after Carl Anderson said he would never go back.
Mischief.
I thought that would be our lead. However, just 2 segments later, a handful of segments later, actually, Bobby Lashley is about to defend his US title against Seth Rollins, and he gets a promo. And I was like, okay, here comes Rollins. And I'm sat there, and I predicted a while ago, Seth wins the belt here because it's a way for it to give him a bit of a win after the loss at Fight Pit. And it's a way to get the belt off of Bobby, this and the other. But I never, and apparently this had been reported ahead of time, but I wasn't checking the dirt sheets previous to it. All of a sudden, bloody Brock Lesnar comes out.
I got to tell you, can I say before we do anything, can I be earnest and sincere for a second? I'm loving sitting in this chair as the interim world co-host of the Raw review. Because in no small part because I'm a massive wrestling fan, and I have loved it since I was 8 years old. I've never lapsed, even in the dark ages. I was still watching, still checking in. The closest I've come to not actively taking part was the pandemic, when it was all quiet in the performance center, because I found that a little bit
the cursed shows.
Yes, it was a little bit of a head F. But I had you guys, and I was still reading, I was still engaging. I have loved sitting in this chair in no small part because I like so much how I'm feeling like I'm really connecting to the material and really getting in and really like being able to analyze and take part and love and hate this thing that has meant so much to me for 25 plus years now. This show was really, really good. And a large part of it was very much that thing we've talked about. They're trying to make it must-watch TV. In this segment, I was texting. You might have heard it. You were having a little lunch. I was catching up, and I was texting. And then Brock's music hit, that noise, and I went, oh, I just was not expecting that at all.
Is it because you watched the show in the office?
Yeah.
You'd been to...
I'm very special. I was at the London Film Festival this morning, so I wasn't able to watch it live as I normally do, ad breaks and all. Yeah.
So, and then I walked over to the desk you were sat at, and you were like, oh, the Good Brothers return.
Yeah.
I popped for the Good Brothers return.
Big time.
And
I went all over the room.
And I think you even said to me, I was like, I'm assuming that's what we'll be leading with.
Yeah, well, you buried the lead because you said to me, yeah, we'll be talking about that. And I was like, oh, is that the main topic?
And I was leading you down a little rabbit hole. I was being the white rabbit myself, leading you down a little path.
You are famously white.
And from Kent. Because I knew that you didn't know.
No, I had no
Brock
idea.
was on this show.
And I've avoided Twitter all morning because there was something about this show that felt like there's going to be... the reason I watch it live, the reason I stay up till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, is because I like to experience it with everyone. I like to see what's going on Twitter. I like to have the surprise. And also I'm an insomniac. So I'm awake anyway, might as well. I've been avoiding all things. So this was a genuine surprise for me. I haven't read the dirt sheet, same as you. And I was really excited.
So cool. And I like the idea of Brock versus Bobby anyway. We saw it earlier this year, but it very much felt like a sort of a half thing that we saw this year. It was just like, well, we put the belt on Brock, but I don't think we want to put the belt on Brock. So we'll just put a match with Lashley. Well, Lashley's got the belt now, but actually we want to put it back onto Brock. So we'll put them in the Elimination Chamber, but we don't want them to fight. So we'll take Bobby out of the Elimination Chamber and then Brock just wins it. So it was kind of like a higgledy-piggledy mess. Brock versus Bobby under a Triple H regime really kind of excites me. And it's, again, kind of like we were talking about with Roman versus Logan Paul. It's a perfect crown jewel match.
That's it. I mean, you could, if you were reading the tea leaves, if you were sort of smelling the air, a Brock return was on the horizon because there's an awful lot of green match card imagery. We've got a Saudi show coming up, so Brock's probably going to be around. That doesn't make sense. This isn't where I was expecting him to show up, and I quite like that.
Yeah, and it kind of, but at the same time, it does make sense. Yeah. It's the season premiere of Raw.
I mean, in this context, with Bobby.
With Bobby, yeah, absolutely. Because I put out a tweet last week that with my predictions that was going to be that Riddle beats Rollins in Fight Pit. Rollins blames Daniel Cormier for the loss, which I think we got a little bit of in that match. Rollins then wins the US title and he defends it against Daniel Cormier at Crown Jewel. And a few people said to me, it was like, it's going to be Daniel Cormier versus Brock Lesnar.
Yes,
And I just thought, because they've got that history. And I thought to myself, I was like, oh yeah, I suppose that does make sense. And even then, after so many people messaged me being like, Brock's going to be a Crown Jewel, Brock's going to be a Crown Jewel, Brock's going to be a Crown Jewel, never did I think, Brock's going to be on this show to set up something for Crown Jewel. And then when he did, I was like, oh, of course.
Well, we even said this, didn't we? When we were talking about Sasha and Naomi, which, you know, if you're going to, there was a, do you bring them back at Extreme Rules? I was like, we'll probably save them for a season premiere because you want that kind of big, nice shock surprise. And they did. It's just not with those two.
It's not with those two.
Different tag team and a different world champion. Like,
yeah.
You know.
I thought this was tremendous. And Brock came out, it was awesome.
Yeah, had a great time.
It just gave a load of F5s to Bobby.
Well, I loved that he sort of popped up, said Bobby Lashley, and then went, That's it. I've done my promo now. I'm gonna fight you.
I'm gonna fight you. Gave him a couple of F5s, gave him a German suplex, locked in the Kimura, and then they sold this story that Bobby Lashley can now no longer defend the US Championship. He was supposed to have a title match against Seth Rollins. How can he possibly defend the belt now?
I did go through those. Again, I went through those motions. I like to just give the show I suspend my disbelief. I'm like, let's do it. Let's try. And then if things push me out of it, that's when I start critiquing. The moment where he's down and he's out, I'm like, surely they're not going to take this match away from us. But he's in no condition to compete. His arm is bad. Surely what's going to happen is the refs aren't going to accept that he's going to, no, this match is over. So then when we do get the segment, you know, I'm ready to critique them for the ref ringing the bell when this person is clearly injured.
Sold it so great.
Yeah.
And I mean, I knew it was serious because Bobby was actually selling.
He was. Can you believe?
I know.
His arm hurt.
And he was telling us.
And it stayed hurt.
Through his actions that it was hurting.
That's exactly what was happening.
But Seth comes out and Seth gets in the ring and he's like, hey, I thought you're supposed to be a fighting champion. Can't believe you're trying to get out of this match again.
Classic heel.
And Bobby's walking away. And then he just goes, what's wrong, McFly? Chicken!
Doesn't quite call him a chicken. He plays on his veteran status.
He did. He called it. He said that soldiers aren't supposed to be cowards. And then Bobby turns around.
Chickens were a theme of this show. We saw them right at the beginning.
We certainly did.
I'm thinking about it. Please do continue.
And then even Bobby fought through it and he got into the ring. And they just had basically a 5-minute banger. Big spot, high spot, big spot, high spot. Bobby immediately goes for the spear into the pedigree, near fall. Rollins does a frog splash, near fall. Bobby then hits a spear, and you're like, oh my God, Bobby's making a comeback. Can't lock in the hurt lock because he's too hurt. Bad arm. Hits the stomp, another stomp. Rollins wins. Superb stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely loved this.
Really big fan. I loved it's the details. There was a lot of details in this where I was like, you've really nailed this.
Yep.
Seth coming out, taped ribs and all.
Yep.
Riddle didn't have any problems.
Nope.
But he's selling the taped ribs. He literally leans out of the ring and goes, what are you talking about? I'm hurt too. I'm still going to fight. Come on. Which is a sort of a babyface move. So then to be like, old classic heel tactic of you're a little coward and also I thought you were a soldier, mate, was really, and he's been getting personal in all of his promos to Seth. That's the character. It really works. Loved that. I was sure when he ran for that spear, I was like, oh my God, straight away. And you know, I was skimming through the initial promo bit and because I wanted to catch up before we had to come on air, skimming it in two speed, which I don't do. I was afraid I wasn't going to get it back to normal speed in time to watch the actual competition. Fortunately, I managed because that wasn't it. Fake out immediately. Then, you know, it did look at certain times like Bobby might have an opportunity here.
So good.
But, you know, did the job. Even when that first dump and then he waited a while, I was like, Seth, don't be foolish. And
like they had the fake out because Bobby avoided one of the stomps. That's when he hit the spear. And like it really protects Bobby. Because they've done a massive job in protecting him and making him look like this unstoppable, almighty lad. And if you're going to set up Bobby versus Brock, you want to make sure that both of them feel at the top of their game, but you're taking the title off of one of them. So they did an amazing job of protecting Bobby here, but also still keeping him look strong in this defeat.
He looked really strong. He looked really intense. Seth looked really smart.
Yep. The ultimate opportunist.
Exactly. It's done everything it needed to do in a really short amount of time. Kept me engaged, kept me active the whole way through. This was a brilliant segment. And then I loved that we have the interview backstage where Lashley is like, I'll get to Seth, but I'm more angry about this guy first.
Yeah.
Because I don't really care about seeing a Seth Lashley match again. Like, I don't want to see another rematch. No, go away. I want to see the big beefy men beating each other up.
Yeah, absolutely same here, and I think it's a perfect match for Crown Jewel. I'm very curious to know here, and I kind of like to test the waters somewhat. Mod Mother, if you can hear me, can we have a poll, please? Are you excited that Brock Lesnar is back? Yes or no?
I don't have an.
I'll get you an earpiece. Okay. If you do get to come permanent co-host, if you stop being interim co-host,
I'll fight for the right to have an earpiece. Earpiece on a pole match.
I would be curious to see because Brock has been, going by our audience, divisive to say the least. There are some people who are very excited to see him back. Some people get very excited. Other people are like, oh, I'm sick of seeing Brock Lesnar.
I've been in that camp.
So have I. When he returned before he faced Roman at SummerSlam, I laughed uproariously.
Right.
Because I was like, the WrestleMania program was like, this is it. This is done. This is the last time we are having these two face off against each other. And then Roman's promo was like, I've beaten everyone. There's no more for me to beat. And then Brock Lesnar shows up. I'm like, are you kidding me now? This is where we're going. Brock Lesnar again. But actually seeing Brock Lesnar not in a title program with someone different instantly has made me go like, oh yeah, Brock is great.
Yeah.
Brock is exciting.
That's the key for me. I think it's the fact that it's not what we've seen.
Yeah.
I think that's what's turned me a little bit with the more recent stuff, because Brock has looked like he's having fun. When it very much felt like for a long time he was showing up and taking a paycheck, and there are moments in there where you see something a little bit fun from Brock, where like it looks like he's having a good time. I'm thinking of Suplex City, bitch. I'm thinking of dancing to MVP's theme at the Royal Rumble. I'm like, when he looks like he's having fun, I'm having fun. And there's something about this Brock that looks like he's having fun. So putting him in something completely different makes him feel fresh and makes him feel fun, and I'm here for it.
One of my favorite Brock moments ever, aside from him dancing with Money in the Bank, is his reaction to Keith Lee in the Royal Rumble. It was one of those moments. I remember we doing the live reactions. I was like, well, there's money on the table right there.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely.
What was it? Oh, big boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the reaction, I was like, oh, okay. And then Keith Lee started doing it, and it was like, I've got a fight on my hands now. It was so cool. And you're like, well, let's not capitalize on that, shall we?
Yeah, let's put that in the bin.
let's just not do that.
Hey, look at all that money. Don't want it.
Could have done.
Millionaire who could have been a billionaire.
But I thought this was a great segment. I'm really pleased for Seth as well. Right man to have that belt, I think, because we've said it on this show multiple times now. Bobby was a very good United States champion. He was just never given a story. He was just defending his belt in other people's stories, and I don't think that really helped him or elevate the title in the way that it needs to be done. Trips has done a great job in resetting that belt and making it feel important.
Did you see Seth's reaction to getting it?
Yeah, that's the other thing as well. And actually, that's another thing I really want to put over on this show, and in the new Triple H era, is people selling matches from the previous 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
2 nights. Bayley selling the loss to Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
Which a Vince McMahonism was to not sell during your entrances because people have paid to come and see you do your entrance.
Ray does it. I'm loving seeing Ray do these really muted entrances.
It's so great because it adds character and it makes you feel emotions.
Yeah.
Bayley's reaction when she came out to do her entrance was not her, ha 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 ha, ding dong, I'm the baddie. It was like a, cannot believe I lost.
The first thing we saw of her was just completely shut down.
She's sad, she's deflated.
Yeah.
And here's Seth Rollins. It comes out, he's all taped up.
Yeah.
It's selling the injuries from a previous night, or, from a previous thing. And that, I think, is a tremendous thing. The crowd were going ballistic for Rollins.
Great crowd.
Great
Love
crowd.
Brooklyn.
And so I thought this was a home run of a segment. Loved it. We'll talk about Gallows and Anderson when we get to their segment, because that was part of a long segment on the show. So in which case, we're going to jump straight into your Ultrachats once I have got them open, which I now have. Oh no, I've just been told Jenna's not here. Jenna's sick. Oh, I didn't know.
Earpiece isn't malfunctioning.
The earpiece. I didn't get a response in the earpiece. Oh, Jenna. Well, if you're watching at home, love you, mate.
Get well soon.
Get well soon. Be there for the team meeting tomorrow. I can't do it without you. So no poll, I'm afraid. Riot Diaz says, "Hey yo, Brock Lesnar, what is he doing here? I can't believe he." Oh yeah, of course, Crown Jewel. Okay, everything makes sense again. Brock does owe Bobby Lashley for the Royal Rumble. Long-term storytelling on Raw. It is a new day. Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's payoff. It's payoff.
Lovely.
Like it.
Lovely to see everyone giving Jenna some love in the live chats. Give the mod mother some love. Delightful. Charles Berg.
I do the Hunger Games thing, but save that for Rebellion. I don't think I want to encourage that just yet.
Save that for Rebellion. You are, one of my favorite things about you, Dan, you are a child of the Attitude Era. So you just mentioned nonsense, and specifically UK nonsense things.
Look,
that it pops me.
You know, if we're not careful, there'll be an insurrection with an axe.
I'm about to head to this country's capital for some carnage.
Not Carnage. Not Capital
Not
Carnage.
capital carnage in the London Arena. Charles Berg, while Brock's motivations seem to be non-existent, the match that followed got Lashley and Seth over big time in my opinion. Lashley showed grit, mental toughness. Seth, being a vulture, immediately picks the bones of fallen prey. It was great character work.
And I don't necessarily need Brock's motivation right now. Like, we can get that next week. I don't need to have all the pieces laid out straight away. I like the question. I like the fact that Corey was like, what? Why? Like, why is he? Why? There was something about that made it entertaining as well.
Hannah Ella said, hello, lovelies. I think I've tracked some early Origin Judgment Day. Tad and friends from that South Park ski resort episode. I like that. Literally no one is asking for it or challenging them, but yeah, get them, Finn. Lots of love. Jam that jam.
Always a big fan.
And I'm going to read this last one here from Mike C for now. That says, long time watcher. Sorry I never chatted. Actually, no, I've written the next two. Sorry I never chatted. First off, I acknowledge all of you as my WrestleTalk family. Thank you, Mike C. You don't have to ultra chat. It's nice when
that made me honorary WrestleTalk.
Yeah, I like that. Now, I could be fishing, but it feels like Triple H has made a modern day, non-comedic version of DX. Roman is Triple H, Solo is Shawn, Usos are the New Age Outlaws, and Sami is X-Pac.
I see the parallels. I don't. It's
Solo's not Shawn though.
No,
that's the only place this sort of falls down. Is Solo Sikoa and Shawn Michaels are not the ones to be.
It's the other way around. Roman is Shawn, because you remember Triple H was Shawn's.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like DX was Shawn was the leader until he hurt his back and left, and then Triple H took over. But like Shawn's the OG leader of the group. He's the main event.
Don't love that this makes Paul Heyman China.
I think it more like no. Well, it is. I think this is more like I think it's more a regime, McMahon Helmsley regime, which means that Heyman is Stephanie.
Okay, fine. I can accept that.
Heyman is Stephanie McMahon.
They bring in Naomi. Naomi could be China.
Yes, absolutely.
I've still got that on my little bucket list.
And lastly, for now, the mayor of Painesville Dan says, "Hello, Luke. Hello, Professor. Other Dan Layton. I hope you're doing well. Isn't it exciting? Next week, Dexter Lumis will have his first official main roster match. I cannot wait for the Uber performer to excite the masses. It will be lovely."
We'll talk about it in a minute. I was very upset.
I was so disappointed with you when there wasn't a big.
Did you see my face? The second they showed there was not a big cake there, I was like, oh, this isn't going to be anywhere near as fun as I wanted. Devastated.
You've already cocked it up, lads.
Yeah. Gutted.
Please do check out this episode's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. It is the WrestleTalk partsFUNknown WrestleTalk podcast VPN of choice. If you're over in America and you watched Extreme Rules over the weekend, you had to watch it through Peacock. Rubbish Peacock. Whereas we, cool people, got to watch it through the WWE Network.
Still going strong.
Oh, still going strong here in the United Kingdom, and it is a fabulous, wonderful app. It's had a bit of a rough start, but now it's like in its final perfect form.
Yeah.
Whereas you chumps still have to use Peacock. Ha! But with Surfshark VPN, you could get access to the proper WWE Network. You don't have to use Peacock and its naff service. You can use cool stuff like the WWE Network. Also, you can get access to iPlayer or All 4.
All 4. Oh, All 4.
All 4. What is... Oh, what? I mean, yeah, you can watch
UK TV Play.
You can watch Task. Oh, if only you can aspire to watch old episodes of Only Fools and Horses. But yeah, get on the iPlayer and you can watch MasterChef.
There you go.
You could go and watch. I'm currently rewatching this year's Great British Menu.
I love that. I'm like, should we talk about this incredible new television program that is making? No. I'm gonna watch the Great British Menu from last year.
No, that's this year's one.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah. I want to watch it again. I want to see if the Northeast was as bad as I remember it being. Had a terrible year, the Northeast this did. But yeah, you can get that through Surfshark. Surfshark.deals/. Go to our link in the video description down below. Use the promo code WT Podcast and get yourself 83% off and 3 months extra for free. And if you're in the UK, you can get access to things like Hulu over in America, or HBO Max and all that cool stuff over there. So. And also, get region block stuff like Netflix and Amazon Prime, all the stuff that's locked away in different countries. Get access to all of it. So it's a great service.
Reasons, I feel.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's unpetty the world with
I completely agree. So use our link, please do. Use the promo code WT Podcast. Right. This episode opened with D-Generation X. I'll read you my notes here. DX act like dickheads backstage and do bad jokes about chickens and cocks. oh dear, it's latter day DX.
Yeah, let's talk about this immediately because I genuinely was like, oh, this is fun. And then they cut to Triple H with his glasses on, and I was like, great visual gag.
Liking that.
He's an old man. They're all old men.
Can't swear.
Yeah, and I had been looking forward to the idea of DX being used as like that. I foolishly had hopes that DX were going to be used as a feeder in some way, shape, or form.
Fool.
Yeah, I held out hope.
Young naive fool.
Thank you for calling me
This
young.
is a D-Generation X reunion segment. They serve one purpose. It's for them to go out, be cool, and say their catchphrases.
Well, they achieved one of them. They achieved two of them. They went out and they said their catchphrases. But we'll get to that in a bit because right now I was having a great time until suddenly they started doing visual gags with rubber chickens.
Like, DX in 2006 was very bad. awful reunion that they had. But because they were PG DX. They weren't the DX of old. The Attitude Era podcast, AE podcast, have the best description of them, which is they look like a bunch of dads on a second stag do.
That's literally it. I wrote a very similar thing down myself.
It is the perfect encapsulation of what is wrong with them. They are a bunch of dads trying to relive their youth because Clive's getting married for a second time and Sandra's let him go to Prague for the weekend.
It's a film about one last hurrah.
Yeah, but they keep having that one last hurrah.
And I feel like we've had about 12 in the past 2 years. Yeah. And I know we haven't, but with the Hall of Fame and other things.
And they keep saying, and all of them is like, man, God, we're old, eh? Oh,
I didn't
aren't we old?
Are we going to talk about them later, or should we just talk about all in one go?
Yeah, let's talk about it one go.
Because it was a nothing segment.
It was an 8-minute segment at the end of the show. Where they just came out and said catchphrases.
What they did was come out and call us all old. They told their advertisers that the target demographic is old now. Yeah. And I'm like, no.
Well, in fairness, the average age of a Raw viewer, I believe, is 44.
That's not good.
It's 44. I'm going to double check that. It actually might be maybe in their 50s.
Nonetheless, my point stands. Like, advertisers are looking for that 18 to 30 demographic, 18 to 54, but ideally they want as many younger people as possible because they're the ones with a disposable income. So to stand there and be like, look, we all have old men.
It's 55.
That's not good.
55 is the median age of Raw. 56 is the median age of SmackDown. And Dynamite is 49.
Dynamite is 49? That surprises me.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
It does skew younger, oddly. Because it doesn't feel like it's a younger product.
I imagined it was much younger. I imagined that it was WWE being in its like 40s to 50s scans. I, for some reason, imagined Dynamite to be a little bit cooler. And so a little bit younger.
Well, you'd think that, but NXT's, I believe their median age at one point was 60.
Which is gross.
Yeah.
With the whole, let's get naked and have sex.
Yeah. But anyway.
That's the show you want to see, I guess. What is one?
So I will tell a little anecdote here as sort of how I feel about DX. I saw Blink-182 at Reading Festival in the year 2000.
Sure did.
So I was 14.
Okay.
When I saw Blink-182 Reading Festival 2000. Apologies to editor Vinny, I am about to drop a swear here, but I feel like I need to in order to get over the anecdote itself. And they come out on stage, and I was like, hey, and whichever one it was goes, we're here to fuck your moms. And it's 2000.
Yeah.
We all had a big laugh.
Everyone has a giggle.
American Pie's the biggest thing at the moment. Jackass is very popular. Mm-hmm. It was very, very funny.
Right.
I then saw them again at Reading Festival in 2005, maybe in 2006, in fact. And they came out on stage, and everyone went, hey. And they went, we're here to fuck your moms. And I was like, oh no, they're doing the same thing. They haven't grown. They're doing the same act. And all of a sudden I felt incredibly old and felt actually quite cringy. I was like, oh no, I used to think that was funny. And now it's not. And I feel actually a bit sad for them. That is how I feel about DX.
It's a very pertinent analogy.
When they do there are 4 cocks on this TV here. And then Triple H grabs one of them and she was like, whoop, hey, let's go choke his chicken now. And this all walking up, I was like, you are nearly 60.
This is it. And it's just, and also like, I know that under that hat, Sean's got a little sort of Frasier haircut, So I'm like, you're not cool, Sean. Like, you're cool.
No, Sean's the only cool one of this group.
No, they're all legends in that way.
They are all legends. Sean is the only one that still looks cool.
He's got a Frasier haircut.
Sean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Sean, but he carries it well.
Because he puts a hat on it.
Yeah, with his like leather jacket stuff and his sunglasses. Sean looks like
he got a big old chant, didn't he?
Yeah, well, Sean looks like 180. And
he does.
And BG James, Road Dogg, has just aged 20 years in the last 5.
Honestly.
And Trips looks like a dad that's now running a business.
And X-Pac looks exactly the way he should when you think about what X-Pac did for the noughties.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But he looks the coolest of a lot of them.
Yeah. I like the idea of seeing DX. I like the idea of here. I love that music. It's great. Seeing them have a good time. It's a lovely time. But this was nothing.
It was a celebration of DX. They came out. They did the catchphrase.
They didn't even make any funny jokes about Daddy Ass.
No, well, they sort of like Corey Graves.
Corey Graves made a joke about Daddy Ass.
Yeah, Corey Graves did.
They didn't.
Yeah, it was a funny line though.
It was a good line. It was a really good line.
And they
said anything.
They shouted out China.
They shouted out China, which the guilt is a wonderful thing.
Long overdue.
Yeah. I just use it as a segment to get someone else over.
Well, yeah,
but you kind of can't because Trips is there.
Well, this is it. Like when they announced that they were doing DX reunion, so many people were like, "Oh, the Fiend will come out and the Fiend will attack them. They'll use this to put over a new group. They'll have an interaction with Judgment Day and stuff." And I was like, "We've all seen these DX segments, haven't we?"
Yeah.
Like this is what they do. They come out, they pretend they invented the Attitude Era, which that's the other thing they like to do, and they do their catchphrases and they leave.
Yeah.
That's what you get from a DX segment. That's what you've paid your money to see.
Yeah.
So this was exactly what I expected it to be. But it should not have been the main event of this show.
It was the main event for the live crowd.
Yes, in a way, yeah.
But I watched on TV. I was like, we've got 8 minutes left and you're not going to do anything with them?
But it was also a live crowd. This is a bit of a fun fact for you. When they announced the DX was on the show, didn't really move any tickets. They announced Roman Reigns was going to be on the show, moved tickets. Then The Fiend debuted or re-debuted at Extreme Rules, and it shifted even more tickets. Yeah. So DX actually didn't shift any tickets.
They weren't the selling point of the show.
But they still made themselves the selling point of this show. It was like, oh, well, the reason this place is packed out is because of us.
I think the thing is, it didn't damage anyone. I think that's where I'm not angry at it.
And it was only 8 minutes.
There's a world where they bury an act or they bury a talent, and they didn't. And it was at the beginning of the show they had a silly joke, in the middle of the show they had a silly joke, and at the end of the show they had a silly... Well, not a silly joke, they just were there. It didn't do any damage, so I'm not that mad at it. No. It didn't ruin the show in any way, shape, or form. I
don't think you can be mad at it.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've got a brand new commentary team of Corey Graves and Kevin Patrick. And oh man, what is this? I've said, look, they say we'll relive the return of Bray later tonight. I hope that doesn't mean they're just going to show a recap video.
Is this you wrote in your notes?
I wrote that in my notes.
Yeah.
But so Corey and Kevin, we'll talk about this briefly because we do need to get into the show. It's a first night. Yeah, I know that Kevin was fine, but it is first night jitters. I totally get it. It's a 3-hour show.
How many of these have I done? This is my fourth. This is my fifth, maybe.
Fourth, yeah.
Fourth. One of them, I've been complaining about commentary for weeks. Once again, the doors I've opened. They've changed the commentary teams. I'm really fixing it. I'm fixing it. Triple H is watching, so you're welcome. No, I agree. I think Kevin did a very good job. Yeah. I think given how much I've whined about commentary and the bickering between Byron and the nothing that Jimmy offered, this was refreshing, if only for the fact that there was an Irish accent there. And it seems like Corey and Kevin have genuine affection. Yeah,
they seem to quite like each other, so that's quite nice.
There were some really nice lines from Corey and some really nice retorts from which gave me, not shades of, but like very much like, oh, I remember this now. Like, you know, there was a bit of... Part of the reason that JR and the King worked so well is because you could tell that they were like really good mates and they would bicker and bicker and bicker, and it was fun. And it made you as the audience want to be involved versus... It felt like Corey and Byron just didn't like each other. And, you know, when you're in a group project and you've got to work with these people who just keep taking shots at each other, it's not fun.
That's why Jimmy sort of felt like he didn't really add a lot.
Yes. So I think first show, Kevin hasn't really found his feet yet, but it was a good first showing. Let's see. Yeah, it's just because he was a backstage interviewer where you're not allowed to have a personality. It just feels like he doesn't have a personality currently. So I'm excited to see what that is. Yeah. And the bit that highlighted it for the most for me was the Ray and Judgment Day stuff, because you compare like the commentary that Michael Cole did during the Edge Balor match, and then when Ray came out and all the interaction between Ray and Dom, it was so emotional and raw and real, and it made you care about the story more. When like here it's just Kevin being like, Dominic there. I actually think Cole had a weak showing on Extreme Rules. Strong disagree. The hot and spicy take. He's been getting better and better and better now that he has the shackles released. You can see that as long ago as in the Cruiserweight Classic and in the Mae Young Classic. Like when he was offered the opportunity to commentate
Just
without
do commentary,
he would do really well.
Mhm.
And so we've been seeing that now that he's not got a geriatric insane person billowing in his ear. I just thought there were a few calls on the show. I mean, Extreme Rules was wonky all over the place, especially in the women's SmackDown Women's title match. I saw a lot of flaws that were made worse by commentary. Awful. That was the rare occasion when Cole was on fire, and it's because of that screaming, no one is going to think less of you if you quit, and I as a father, this is making me furious, and I was there like with the ladder match. You've got all that history as well, the ladder match for custody. It's weirdly Cole. This is personal for Cole as well.
Yeah.
Kevin and Corey kind of have that we're dads. This would be rubbish for us. They're treating it more solemnly than furiously, and I think that's a different, I don't think worse angle to take.
But the Bloodline opened this show, and which means that we got to skip forward a good 10 minutes of this while they just slowly walked to the ring. Roman had a very cool little interesting promo. Hits him about how the loudest in the room is the weakest in the room. If you're the weakest in the room, then you're a fool. He turns to Jay. It's like, Jay, are you a fool?
Yeah.
And it looks like they're about to have a bit of a tete-a-tete, and Sami jumps in. Great reactions for Sami throughout this show. And Sami jumps in and is like, whoa, hey, Roman, you don't need to sort that out. I'll take this on. And Sami interrupted Roman. And like Jay looked at me like, what are you doing?
Paul
Heyman was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And Roman had this look on his face. It was like, what are you doing? And then just broke into that smile. I was like, Sami, you're right.
Doesn't that smile terrify you?
It's so scary.
Yeah.
And I cannot get enough of this storyline.
Yeah.
It is the best thing in WWE. It's not the best thing on Raw because there's a SmackDown storyline that cameos on Raw. Judgment Day is, funny enough, the best thing on Raw, in my personal opinion. But I think this is the best thing in WWE right now. And every reaction, and I'm both looking forward to and dreading the day that Roman turns on Sami. And I think it is going to be like a real gut-wrenching moment for the crowd because we like seeing Sami in this group, but we know that it's not going to be forever. And like I was actually kind of really missing Kevin Owens on this show and like that pleading with Sami and stuff and this and the other. But in the end, Sami was like, you asked me to look after Jay and make it my problem. So I'm going to make it my problem. I'm going to deal with this now. And he's based on Jenny. He has this wonderful line where he says, look, me and Roman have been having a lot of really deep and meaningful conversations. Like there's just between the two of us. There's like really about, really personal things, but that's not important right now.
Yeah.
Little like digs and stuff in there. And he's like, you're not being cool. We're all cool. Solo's cool. Jimmy's cool. Roman's cool. You're not being Usi.
Usi. Get it in the dictionary. Usi. I tell you what I loved about this was that he was giving you the energy of like the office manager of a startup company somewhere trying to speak the language. He was this close to being Captain America. So you're not very Usi. Like it's a lot of fun, and what you could tell as well, what sells this even more. Roman and Jay just look like they're having the time of their lives.
Yeah.
They look like they're genuinely enjoying it.
Well, they get to give performances because, like, once again, Jay is a character, which he hasn't been for so long now. And I think this has added a brand new, lovely dimension to Roman as well.
Yeah.
There's that when Sami finishes his speech, Jay just grabs a microphone and he doesn't look at Sami, just looks past him and looks at Roman's like,
are you serious?
Is this a joke?
Yeah.
Are you ribbing me?
Yeah.
Like, is that what this is? Like, trying to figure out what Roman's motivations are.
It's so tasty.
It's so tasty. And then Matt Riddle comes out. Matt Riddle talks about how he's king of the fight pit. He beat Seth Rollins. He wants another shot at Roman. Roman was like, nah. So Matt challenged someone else into the bloodline. And Jay's like, oh, Sami, you said you're going to step up and settle things. I think you should probably settle this. And Sami's like, yeah, I don't really know. Matt starts making fun of the bloodline. Just like, oof. He's disrespecting the bloodline. Are you going to allow him to disrespect the bloodline? So Sami challenges him to a match later on.
And it was so much fun. I had a big smile on my face the whole way through.
That was just tremendous.
Yeah.
We then had Austin Theory versus Johnny Gargano. Crowd weren't that hot for this.
It's funny because I bought it, and I think that as a more like intense wrestling fan who knows all these people and knows that we're in for some good wrestling. I was there for it, but I guess if you're a casual viewer or someone who's just picked up tickets because you heard of Bray Wyatt or whatever, maybe you didn't have enough build.
This has had like weeks and weeks of build.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
I'm trying to think why a casual person in the audience might not.
Yeah, I get it. It is, yeah.
I thought it was a crisp match.
Very crisp, yeah. And it was a really cool finish as well. That tope swinging DDT and then the slingshot DDT for the win was very, very good. But man, poor Austin Theory cannot buy a win.
Well, what was interesting here, and I actually really I thought it was really nice details again, was the fact that he was using Gargano's moves.
He used the Gargano escape.
He did use a Gargano escape. Less good than Johnny Gargano. It was when Gargano locked his in, it's like, this one looks way better. He also, the thing that kicked off his sort of downfall, he went to do that, that he does that sort of leapfrog spear situation. He tried to do that and got punched in the face, and that's what led to the ending segment. And I'm like, okay, I quite like the idea of this student-teacher thing that they're selling on commentary. Student isn't as good as the teacher, so he loses. I don't think it
didn't quite translate.
Think it does anything to Theory.
Well,
I don't think it detracts from him. I think it continues this idea that he's I'm the youngest Money in the Bank person in the world, but you're not necessarily good enough for it yet.
The problem is, I believe, he has won one match since winning Money in the Bank. That means he's lost a lot of matches.
Yep.
So as a viewer, you're just seeing this guy that apparently is going to be the next WWE champion just be beaten all the time. So I just don't think people take him seriously. People don't take him as a threat.
That's a fair critique.
So I think that then doesn't translate into any of his matches either, because he's just this goof that's got the briefcase. I really think we are setting ourselves up here for him to reach Money in the Bank next year, still not cashed in, and he doesn't cash in at all. And it's just like, your time expired. So he doesn't even fail at the cash-in.
That is one of the few things they haven't done.
Exactly. He just never cashes it in. And he just gets it taken off of him.
Well, I mean, now my head's doing the storyline thing now. Like, what could that open up? Yeah.
However, the more actually no, I nearly jumped ahead of the segment. We then got Rey Mysterio versus Chad Gable. Decent little match. Rhea and Subanik came out and tried to cause a distraction, but it was less of a distraction because Rey just won.
Yeah. How do you say "shoosh" in Irish? Was a line from Corey to Kevin Patrick, which was like, they like each other. I liked that very much. How do you say "shoosh" in Irish? I thought this was a great TV match.
Good TV match.
Like, it did the job. They both got in. They both looked good. The right person won. Gable keeps losing, but I don't care because Chad Gable is good.
Well, I was going to say, he is not someone who just needs to go out and win.
Nope. Because he's not really in a storyline. No. His purpose and the purpose of Alpha Academy at the moment is to help along other storylines. Did it with Gargano and Theory. Doing it in this instance if they want to, Yeah, I thought it was kind of the equivalent of like Aston Villa versus Southampton in the Premier League. Like, these two have been booked in a match so that they can have a match with each other because they've got to work at some point.
You have to have a match against at some point.
You got to work. Yeah.
So City can't have every match.
Exactly. So but you're right. This was what then began a really long segment, which was quite entertaining.
I thought it was wonderful stuff. So like Dominic gets in the ring afterwards, and he is asking his dad to hit him.
Hit me.
And he kept screaming at his face, and Ray won't even put his hands behind his back. He will not hit his son.
Big slap in the face.
Priest and Balor jump up onto the apron, so Ray goes and attacks them, and Dominic knocks down Ray. Big, crazy heat from the crowd here. And the heat that Dom gets is so great.
Yeah.
And then when Rhea is holding Ray in position, so Dominic can hit the 619, and he even sort of mocks Ray doing like the taunt and everything. It's so good.
Yeah, it's really good, and it's really sold by Ray's performance. And I'm not someone who will generally compliment Rey Mysterio's acting ability because I think he's quite wooden a lot of the time. He was really, really selling it. He was doing such a good job with the pain and the grief and the just devastation that this is causing him. And I'm buying it. Yeah. They're selling it to me, and I'm buying it.
We went to an ad break, came back. Judgment Day was still in the ring. Rhea has an armband on with Beth written on it because they gave her the concerto at Extreme Rules, rather.
Because she's a git.
And Finn talked about how he made Edge quit. Dom is getting the most heat of anyone in this group, though. They hand the microphone to Dom, and he basically just says, "It turned me on to see Rhea kill Beth."
And I know it turned you on
as well.
You bloody simps.
We all got huge boners over that.
I love that line because it's like, tell him he's wrong. I know a lot of you people with your phones in your hand tweeting along. You're loving it. Absolutely. You're loving it.
You're all asking her to step on you, you big dirty pervs.
Yeah.
It's so great. And I like that they are really leaning into this. She dominates me.
Yeah.
I'm her sub, and she is my dom.
And it's allowing me to find my I'm her dom, and also it's very complicated. linguistically.
Mhm.
It's like leaning into him. They all seem to love how much he's getting, and it seems to be giving him confidence. And he's getting better, and it's like lean into the thing that you've got, which is that we all want to punch you. Literally, we want to see you be punched.
He is one promo away from on Raw just being like, she pegs me. And you're all jealous of that. And I can see it, the look on your faces. Every one of you wishes you were me.
Just in a backstage segment, she's just putting away in the drawer. She's cleaning it while they're talking, while they're being like, oh, we're great. We're amazing.
Yeah, Damien Priest's like, ha, we rule.
Yeah, we really do, Damien.
Anyway, they turned their attention to Uncle Alan. The second they said Uncle Alan, I was like, right, Gallows and Anderson are back then. And they come out, or AJ Styles comes out, and he's like, Finn, you're right.
Yeah.
When my back is against the wall, I do need friends. I need family. And it looks like he's about to join Judgment Day.
Genuflects.
He does. And he gives a big hug. So it's like, Mother takes off one sick day in this happens.
We bring up pegging. Sorry, Jenna.
And then they give her a hug. And Finn's got this big old smile on his face being like, ha ha, we got him to join the group. And then AJ goes, I wasn't talking about you. And Balor's expression is like,
delicious camera work here. The camera work from the back of the hug and then the other side of the hug. Great acting from both of them.
Gallows and Anderson make their return to WWE. Come down to the ring. We have got, well, the club, the OC, whatever you want to call them, battling against Judgment Day. Yeah. Everyone's scarpers.
Finn is giving it, I made you. And I loved that.
So great.
Loved that. I love that he was genuinely a little bit nervous, but also like furious about it. At this point in watching it, you'd all gone to the shops and I was sort of alone in the office and I just did a little dance. I was like, yeah! And I was like, battling. I was like, this is happening!
It's so great. And it's the best thing on Raw.
Yeah, it really, they're all really, and then the actual like clash, the fight between them was so intense and really exciting because they do scarp her. Then you're sort of left with Finn and AJ in the ring, and Finn bolts it out of the ring, but it's literally milliseconds before AJ is kind of launching him onto this table.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all about it.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really good. I'm in for all of this.
I was so impressed. I really had a good time. I really, really... Did you spot... I don't know if this is on purpose. Did you spot the odd camera work?
Yeah, they're sort of like...
Twice.
Yeah, like a GoPro camera.
Twice.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's that? Because at one time, I again thought I'd missed a table spot, and it was just a camera that had been knocked over and they accidentally cut to it. But they cut to a weird camera angle twice. Both of them were a little GoPro-y.
Yeah.
GTV? Like, what's that exactly?
Triple H bringing everything back from the Attitude Era.
Just something to keep a little eye on. I don't know what that is. It might be nothing. But yeah. But I otherwise really loved it. Yeah.
Something I don't love, and I'm less into now. Byron, the human mic stand as he is now, has replaced Kevin Patrick in that role.
This is the role he should have.
Interviews Bayley and the rest of Damage Control.
Oh, did you not like this?
Well, here is why I'll say that I wasn't keen on this. Bayley basically talked about, like, Dakota Kai said, we're going to get Bayley a rematch. So then Bayley has a match with Candice LeRae. Bayley does a really good job of selling the ladder match injuries. And Candice gets a shock roll-up win.
Yeah.
So Candice pins Bayley.
Yeah.
And then Damage Control beat up Candice. Bianca Belair comes out to make the save, and they beat up Bianca Belair, and they stand tall. And I'm like, so we're building towards Belair Bayley again by having Bayley lose effectively a 3-on-1 handicap ladder match and then lose a match to Candice LeRae. It's not really a way to make her feel like a big imposing threat. And like Damage Control's reactions are now so much less than what they were when they first started. I think that they have done quite a bad job in keeping up the momentum of Damage Control. And I think I think Bianca Belair was the right call to win at Extreme Rules. But the manner in which she won, which is that she beat them 3-on-1, you can't then just be like, and now Bayley's standing tall and she's going to challenge for the belt again.
Yeah, I mean, I thought and wanted Bayley to win because I want this dominant heel Damage Control situation. I do think it was a really great showing for Bianca. It was one of the highlights of the show for me. I thought that double KOD, which was like, almost didn't happen, almost slipped off, but really they pull it. It made her look great. She doesn't need any friends. I think you said this in your review. She's sort of fine on her own, and I kind of really liked that. I then was a little bit like, well, so what do you do with damage control now? And I'm like, okay, as we're seeing Byron do the interview, Bayley looks really like, oh, crap, didn't win, not great. Then Dakota kind of comes in, and the lines that they were giving were like, hang on, she was there for me when I was at my lowest. So we're fine. And like, I want to pay her back for the faith that she's had in me. And then Io speaks in Japanese, and it's fresh. And then Bayley gets that smile on her face back. The fact that it was a surprise roll-up win, I don't think makes Bayley look bad, but it does add to this idea that Bayley's confidence might shake. I don't know. I wasn't as mad at it. I didn't think it caused as many closed doors as you seem to feel. But I do know what you mean. It all hinges on where we're going next.
Well, that's it. Like, I think if you were telling a story of Bayley's confidence has been rocked by this loss, I think that's a fascinating story to do it. But then she shouldn't be going for the title again. You should be moving Bianca into something else.
Yeah.
And then circling back to Bayley at a different point.
Unless you because you are right. It technically was a handicap ladder match. Unless you do go for a rematch and damage control get in the way, and it does work this time. And then it's like, well, you wouldn't have won this unless. But I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, what do we do now?
It's murky.
You're right. The momentum has kind of a little bit stumbled.
And I think all you had to do was just not do Bianca and Bayley again.
Yeah.
Just move Bayley and damage control into a different program. Give Belair something else to do. Give her like Alexa or Asuka or something, like we've done all this to help you. We took, massive hits for you, and we can do a little program with them. Then you come back to Bayley once she's got that confidence back again, and you've done a couple of programs over here, and make us want to see another match between the two of them rather than just doing the rematch.
With one eye on War Games, though, I guess.
Well, then again, that's always the problem with War Games, I suppose, in a way, isn't it? Like, it's, we just say this about the NXT one. It was just like, there was a period of time within NXT where all of a sudden 4 guys just had to come together to face off against Undisputed Era because, War Games is coming up. So we have to pause a storyline we're doing or alter a storyline we're doing because we've got to do War Games. So you sort of like book yourself to a corner with a stipulation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose we kind of have to do it this way so we can do...
If War Games was in a couple of weeks' time, you could just carry on. Knowing that it's at the end of November is a little bit like that's a while away yet.
It's a while away yet, and it also means that we're going to be having Bianca and Bayley feud until the new year.
It's curious. It's interesting.
We then got the Miz's birthday celebration. My first note here, there isn't a big birthday cake, so Dan will be disappointed.
I was devastated is what I was. That was I spotted it. I was like, that is a tiny... No one's coming out of that.
They got some local sports team heat. My wife thought that was hysterical because she's like, do they always do this?
I love the fact that they're going to make references to people that none of us in the UK know.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, they always do. Your local sports team is rubbish.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it always works. And she went, why?
They even do it when they come over here. Like, we care that much.
I know. But it's funny when they do it here because like they go to Manchester and they're like, oh, I bet you don't like and try and name like another Manchester. It was like, no, we hate Liverpool.
Yeah. We
also, and half of us here don't actually support City or United because every United fan's in London.
City can't fill their own stadium, let alone yours, mate. United fan. I wanted to get that dig in there. Yeah, just to be clear. Yeah.
And also live in London. Apropos to be a Man United fan.
My whole family live in Trafford. It's my team.
The people used to come at me when I found, like I said on the show, that I was, an Everton fan. Now I was like, oh yeah, typical, live down the south. I was like, my parents are from Liverpool. Like I was born there.
I'll fight it.
Anyway, I cannot believe though in all of this, they brought back the massive balls thing.
Well, there were 2 things that popped me. I did enjoy the massive balls.
No, you didn't, Dan. No one likes the massive balls thing.
Guilty. I also loved that was one of the 2 good things that came out of the segment. The only other good thing that came out of the segment was we got a little burst of the best theme in the history of WWE, Maurice's Pourquoi. That is one of the finest themes that there is. I listened to it in my gym playlist. I haven't been to the gym in about 3 years, but it's still on the playlist. That was it. The rest of it, I was like, well, no one's coming out of the cake. His head's going to be there. And then I thought there was going to be a moment. Have you done the bit? Can I start writing?
Go for it.
I thought there was going to be a moment where Maurice got really cross at Dexter and maybe had a little go, like, stop it, I'm sick of this. Like, and enhancing the idea that Miz is just a little coward and his wife fights his battles for him. Nope, she ran away as well. Nothing.
This is WWE dragging their heels on this. I
mean, he popped the balls and then they went and got the balls back.
Yeah, they were inflated again. Or no, they were deflated.
He was just holding them. Why did they go and get them?
So they could do a DX comedy skit backstage, so DX could make balls jokes. That's the only reason these balls were in this segment, is so they could do some lame DX comedy about balls in another segment.
I'm devastated because The Miz is better than this.
And finally, they announced next week it's going to be Miz versus Dexter, or at least I think it's official. Road Dogg just said it was happening.
Can we talk? I'm going to talk again. The details and logic matter in order to suspend someone's disbelief. Road Dogg booked a match between someone who isn't in contract with WWE. So he's just been showing up with no reason. The stipulation of this match is that if Miz wins this match, to which Dexter has not agreed, Dexter will never come back.
He's gone forever.
He doesn't have a contract. He's coming anyway.
Yeah, he shouldn't be here anyway. He doesn't even go here.
He doesn't even go here. That was last week. Why? But at least some forward movement.
And I felt like Road Dogg ballsed his line as well, no pun intended, because he said, hey, look, Miz, it's going to be you versus Dexter next week. If you win, you're gone forever. If Loomis wins, he gets your balls. And Shawn Michaels just goes, and he gets a contract as well.
Yeah.
And Road Dogg's like, oh, yeah. And he also gets a contract, and he then gets to work here.
Yeah. I mean, like, Shawn's the booker of NXT, so he knows how the process works.
I actually had forgotten that Dexter doesn't work here. It's been so long of them doing nothing with this story. I forgot he doesn't work here.
I'm really upset about this birthday. I got so excited last week at all the prospects.
Oh, I know you did. You set yourself up for your own failure,
I really did.
You see, the thing is, I knew this was going to be a bit naff.
I thought it was going to be really fun.
So when it was just naff, I didn't feel...
break. I was like, oh, that was rubbish.
So when it was naff, I was like, yeah, of course. Of course it was naff. We all knew it was going to be naff.
But I've been enjoying... I like The Miz very much. I've been enjoying this segment for quite a while. I've been patient along with everybody. Why does it hurt so much? Because it was real. I'm now devastated that this has jumped. I'm past it now. And that's a shame.
Yeah. Well, maybe next week at least is our first step forward in this storyline. So finally,
don't make me hope.
And what speed up two lads? We then got Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins in the US title. Well, I mean, there's nothing.
No, agree. Yeah, because he's no different than any other giant that's ever been there.
Yeah. My wife, who was in the room, actually, that was the other thing. Where's my note I wrote here? Oh yeah. Okay. Here's the other thing I want to say about the birthday segment.
Yeah.
Two things. One, I really wish my wife was not in the room when I was watching it.
Why?
Because I felt very embarrassed, because I could see her sat there being like, this is so rubbish.
Yeah.
Why does my husband watch this? Why is this his job? Does he like this?
Yeah.
What an idiot. And I started being like, oh, why can she have been here during the Bloodline stuff? Because that's at least good.
I had this over the weekend where I, with my lady companion, was watching Extreme Rules, and we watched the opening match together. And she was like, oh, I can see that you're really into this. And this seems very exciting and all this stuff. And then we watched the rest, and she was like, these two aren't very good. I was like, that's piercing analysis. Thanks, babe.
The other thing, credit to Maurice in this segment.
Always credit to Maurice.
Because they tried to do this contrived thing where she was going to get knocked into the cake, and she missed it by a country mile. Completely whiffed it. But a consummate pro. She just reached up, grabbed a bunch of cake, pulled it down, and rubbed it on her face, so it looked like she did.
Don't make me like them again. I've just moved past it, Luke.
Then we had the Master. Then we had Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins. Then we had a Bray doing a video saying that he is Misters, because they'd replayed the
return,
the return bit earlier. Like it cut to the commentators, and they were like, the greatest return ever in WWE. Bray's return, Bray Wyatt. I mean, sure you've seen it, but we're going to relive it again in all of its glory, because it's so good. I've still got chills and all of this. And I'm like, absolutely amazing. Like, you will not believe what you're about to see. And Corey was like, I was there. It was so incredible. And like, which is weird because he was so scared at Extreme Rules. But like, it was just amazing. And they showed the full thing in full. Later on, they get this video of Bray up on the screen in sort of the black phone mask, and he's talking about how he's Misters. And it cuts back, and Kevin's like, don't know what that was about. Bray Wyatt, you did. Yeah. You were just praising him earlier.
And yeah, I liked this little bit, because it was like, revel in what you are. And that then made me go, has he said that before? Is this a completely new thing?
This is like the new thing.
This is the new thing.
And like, who killed the world? Like,
yeah.
I
just wanted to make sure it wasn't like an old saying that I've forgotten about.
It's probably a tweet that he made in 2013.
Almost certainly. What I like about the idea of Revel in What You Are is the idea that he's going to, if we are going down this YS6 format, it's planting the seed of taking people who have been in characters that aren't necessarily fitting them right and allowing them to really be who they are. Really,
it's Judgment Day's gimmick.
Praise the new leader of Judgment Day. You heard it here first.
So, I said my piece on this earlier. I think they should have capitalized more on the Bray Wyatt return. What
did that look like to you?
Well, they announced that he's going to be on SmackDown
in New Orleans, which is very Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, announced that he's going to be announcing his intentions.
Right.
The problem is there were a lot of people tuning into the show to see what that is, and as we saw with the White Rabbit teasers early on, the more you just keep saying something is going to happen on the next show, the less people tune into that show. So, I'm not saying he comes out in front of the crowd and says, "I'm glad to be back" or anything like that, because I think that would have been detrimental to his character. But a video, whatever this character is, and have him.
Was this not that?
No, well, him saying, "I'm going to be on SmackDown. Everyone's asking questions. I'm going to be on SmackDown. You'll get your answers there." As opposed to this sort of weird video here, and then later on WWE saying Bray Wyatt's going to be on the show on SmackDown. Bray Wyatt being the driving force to be like, you have tuned into the show to see this man and see what he has got planned next, and you will see what I've got next when you watch this other show. But it's him that's driving that forward, as opposed to the company is driving that forward and the creative is driving that forward. I as I said in my review, I'm not saying it's bad, like in terms of like they have killed the character or they're killing his momentum or anything like that, because they're not. That would be a bad faith take. But I do think this is a fumbled opportunity. Because people are tuning into the show to see that, and if you don't deliver on that, they're not going to tune in next week.
I see that. I don't think it. I think it's still fine.
And I just want to say again, it was the hottest thing coming out of Extreme Rules. Like when you look at the YouTube numbers, and you can't do everything by that, but it is what everyone was talking about. The YouTube numbers were leaps and bounds, 3 times, 5 times as much, 10 times as much than other actual matches.
Yeah.
So if your interest levels going from that show are Judgment Day and saying the other, it's so much lower than what Bray was. Bray got the loudest pop of the night, and he wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I think you have then done your fans a disservice there by not having an actual follow-up that could lead to SmackDown. Also, his brand split doesn't matter anymore,
Yeah,
so
true.
you could have had him feature.
Yeah, it's. I guess it's a promise and deliver thing, and because I wasn't promised Bray was going to be there.
Daniel, can you read to me again what that says on the screen?
The return of Bray Wyatt Raw tonight. I'm sorry.
Speaking of returns, LOL Elias is back next week.
How long did it take you to grow a beard?
LOL, I thought he was dead. So that is really we're not doing Vince's thing anymore.
Yeah,
I'm just bringing Elias back.
Yeah,
whatever.
I made the Drifter. It's mine. I get my toys back now, thanks.
And then we got Matt Riddle versus Sami Zayn.
Yeah, which led to the debut of the RKO, thanks to Kevin Patrick, which I'm thrilled about. RKO!
RKO!
The RKO!
RKO!
Out of nowhere! Love it. I'm a big fan of Kev.
But it was a good little match. But again, it was more that story about Sami and Jay, because Jay kept getting involved. And Sami, because he's been told, you need to handle this, was telling Jay to not do this and not get involved. And then there was a point where Matt was going to be beating up Sami. The referee was like, watching this, so they couldn't have really done much. And Jimmy went to help. And Jay held Jimmy back and said, he's got this.
Because he'd done it a couple of times and had Sami be fully like, I don't want help.
I don't want your help here. And so Jay was like, he doesn't need us, Oos.
What was really fun about that was the fact that I thought the whole way through the show, really, that where this was leading was Jay getting involved and costing Sami the match. So to have a sort of twist on that, for me to be sort of egg on my face, was very, very
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And Randy hit the RKO for the win. And then Sami sort of rolls to the outside. And Jimmy's got this look on his face being like, dude, what happened? Like, you just lost. And Jay's like, yeah, Sami, I thought you were handling this. He was handling this, Jimmy. I thought you had this handled.
Parents are away, so I'm going to be a little...
And Sammy's there just looking sad because Sammy's got this look on his face like, oh, what's Roman going to say on Friday?
Yeah.
What's going to happen when I see Roman next? All three of them were absolutely awesome. But then because there was only 8 minutes, they were like, never mind that shit. Here comes D-Generation X.
They're in a little truck and they're gonna throw some glow sticks at you.
They're in
Remember?
They're in a tank.
A lovely tank. It's absolutely a Jeep.
Tank.
Yeah.
A Jeep. And then DX came out and they did their catchphrases, which we talked about earlier. Corey,
the whole Bloodline segment, it just keeps getting. They keep
so great.
nailing it. They keep nailing it.
Corey said during that DX thing, this is the last thing I'll say on it, said, and it's a direct quote, if you're not having fun with DX, then you don't belong. Well, I guess I don't belong, which is, funny enough, what I've been talking about in therapy recently. So,
yeah. But I'm glad you're having therapy because therapy is a good thing for everybody.
I highly, highly recommend it. I cannot recommend it enough, in fact. But yeah.
Therapy? Dexter Loomis.
Stop invading people's homes when children are in bed.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought that was quite funny. I'm literally in my notes, which is funny enough, one of the things I was discussing in therapy yesterday. And then they said their catchphrases.
They said their catchphrases.
They had some good fun. I quite enjoyed Triple H doing like, I need to catch my breath before I do this next bit.
Can I just tell you, I love Triple H. I know the popular thing sometimes is to be anti-Triple H. You know, I love him. He was one of my favorites when I was younger. I think his work behind the scenes has been really good. I think he really gets wrestling. I think he's not. I think Extreme Rules was overbooked or rather overlong. I think it could have been a lot snappier. Yeah, I thought that would be me reviewing Extreme Rules, which is not my remit. But I think sometimes he's finding that, you know, booking 5 hours of television a week is different to booking 1 hour of television a week. And so at times he's struggling. Like a couple of these weeks have been he's struggled to maintain the pace. I found this third hour a lot easier to watch than I have in the past couple of weeks. I like Triple H very much. I would be very happy for him to come out and do little segments now and again.
I'm quite happy to be an on-screen character.
Just when Road Dogg tries to chime in with the joke and it's not as funny, it's like, oh mate, just put it like DX do that. Yeah, but I don't want it anymore. Sorry, 25 years. Thanks for the past 25 years, guys. See you never.
So that was Raw. I gave it 4 out of 5. I had a really fun time. Really fun time with this show.
I really did, and I had high hopes going in, and it mostly met them all. I really enjoyed it.
Well, we have got some Patreon shout-outs to be done here, so let's hit the Hall of Fame music. Tomorrow on patreon.com/WrestleTalk, the WrestleTalk Behind the Scenes video podcast goes live, which is myself, Ollie, Pete, and Tempest talking about all the behind-the-scenes shenanigans that go on here at WrestleTalk and partsFUNknown HQ. Next week will be After Dark. It is me, Tempo, and Abby, and I think we're going to find a fourth person as well to come and join our ranks there, which we're going to record after we've done the Raw review. Because Andy's not on the show, there will be less talk of bumholes, but can't guarantee it.
No promises. We brought up pegging here, so
it is After Dark after all. And then Ollie Davis and I will be reviewing TNA Bound for Glory 2005 at the end of the month.
You'd love to see it.
Oh, I'm so beyond thrilled that it won the poll.
You specifically love to see it.
Because I really thought that Battleground 2013 was going to win. Yeah. I thought it was going to win leaps and bounds. And it didn't come within an arse's roar of winning. A distant third it came. But if you are one of our $25 and above Patreon Pledgehammers, you get your name shouted out on these very shows with a cool wrestling nickname like Always Shining Garrett Albright.
Hannah A, baby. I'll get it right every time.
A Geordie bus driver, Harry.
The Overstepper, James Nepper.
Murderous, James Murta.
WrestleTalk's personal problem solver, Jamie Donovan.
Oh, I can't do this one. Can you do this one?
Viernes el 13º, Jason Gutierrez.
Because I can do this one. Jeremy spoken class today. Bit of Pearl Jam there.
That was lovely. John Jenkinson, son of Jenker.
Golden, John Molden.
The Honourable Jonathan Gresham Prieston.
And the last entry here on the Hall of Fame class on the 11th of October 2022, the easiest name to pronounce, George Rosowskis. Delightful. Thank you all so much. Let's get into the rest of your remaining Ultra Chat. And we are going to be kicking things off with Big John's World. And not having Bray on the show feels like a massive missed opportunity, especially when you could have tied it in with the DX stuff and actually make that relevant. Have Bray come out and haunt them, or the Firefly Funhouse, or sick the Firefly Funhouse crew on them. Just do something.
I think Bray with DX for me would have been the wrong choice because DX aren't there very often, and I don't, but I some little hint in there that Bray is a physical presence. Yeah, I agree with that.
AJZM, a couple of thoughts. Dexter Lumis is a face because the enemy of your enemy is your friend. New Bray Wyatt character seems to have control of all of his alter egos. Puppets were an outlet. Laughed way too hard at the office supplies line by Corey Graves.
Yeah, it was a strong line. And those daddy ass chants that they were terrified of didn't happen.
I don't know why they would be worried about them, because like they even at their worst they never got AEW chance.
No, just lean into it. Just say shout out to Daddy Ass. What's the problem? It's not a competitor anymore. They're on different nights.
Absolutely, yeah. Like they have got their different audiences. Like they're not going to send any audience over there in the same way that an audience is not going to jump across the other one. They have all picked their lanes. Riot DR, reference I wanted. Triple H. Hey, what do you got there? Road Dogg. Oh, this? For some reason, people kept telling me something about scissors. Instead, we just got some glow sticks, some old age jokes, and some silly age jokes.
Some silly age jokes and some age silly jokes. Yeah, that's very true.
That's very good. Still chuckle the bits.
Yeah, just a little, yeah. I'd have signed off on that.
Radiar again said, my friend has returned to watching WWE and told me his new favorite wrestler is Dexter Lumis. Though his storyline with The Miz has been on a metaphorical treadmill, he is a unique presence and great at what he does. Love you guys, be excellent to each other. As I said in my edited review, I have been quite harsh on the Dexter Lumis and Miz storylines, but I cannot deny the reactions that it gets. Like, it is over.
Yeah.
It wasn't over in this segment here because this was a crowd that was like, oh yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
He's under the present. Yeah, we get it.
Because it was an opportunity for something different and we didn't get something.
Yeah.
Because it was his first in-ring segment.
Well, for a while, because he's done a few in-ring things, hasn't he?
On the Raw?
Yeah, Dexter Lumis. He's been, like, he cut out of the ring and dragged.
My apologies, I forgot the cutting out of the ring. Yeah. Has Ciampa come back since being dragged onto the ring? He's just trapped under there.
He's in Little People's Court, isn't he?
Great. Oh, of course he is. Yeah, he still is in Little People's Court. That's
Speaking of bad DX things. That's actually the next season of the AE podcast is looking at that DX reunion run.
I thought you meant specifically Little People's Court.
Well, that is part of it, so they will be covering that, and I honestly cannot wait.
Yeah,
because
Adam
Bigelow hated DX in '97.
Really?
Yeah, he was just like they are just like he would use he would drop a C bomb and say like they are insufferable Cs.
Goodness me,
because they were. I'll hot tag to you.
Okay. Zeke the Freak says, I guess Brock is heel again. So weird that DX segment main event of the show. I just saw the clip, so I thought it was a middle of the show fodder. It was nothing. We're old, 25 years is a long time, catchphrase, etc. Jam that jam. I don't know that I think Brock is a heel.
I didn't think he was a heel either. He's Brock.
This could just be a match, two people, rather than a heel or face. But yeah, that absolutely should have been in the middle of the show. HCB, hi guys, great show. Really excited to see the Good Brothers. To answer your question, I'm excited to see Brock again because he won't be in a match linked to a title. I'm counting Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank, or Champion versus Champion in Survivor Series since Goldberg in 2016.
Wow, he's always been in title matches.
Yeah, and it's always been for the big title.
Years.
Yeah.
Christmas Day.
Just to give him something different to do is quite entertaining.
Yeah.
Rob Steedley has been a member for 5 months. Lashley deserved better. Let this story be spread out. Get some great matches we never got to have. I'm looking forward to this. I think that's exactly it. Just having a story is quite nice. Sheldon Jackson says, who would have thought in 2022 every member of the Shield is holding single championship gold? Only if Seth was WWE champion. Then all 3 members would have been world champions at the same time. That's a really interesting thought. And obviously Mox signed his all 5-year.
He did,
so
That's
no Shield reunion anytime soon.
No.
Alas, alack.
I think he's having a better time.
I agree. I think AEW far suits him better and suits his talents way better.
Yep.
Even than Triple H led.
Completely agree.
I think he's exactly where he should be, as is Seth, as is Roman. I think this is the best use of the Shield, is to have them kingpins in separate ways. Gabriel Reyes. I laughed when Dakota said Bayley will get her rematch. Why? She fought 3-on-1 and still lost. Not interested in this storyline, unfortunately. Just ready for the next step and for Bianca to move on.
I saw someone compare Bianca. I think it might have been Ollie, but it might be someone in the comments on the Extreme Rules review said, "Oh, she's this generation's John Cena in that she just wins all the time."
Who?
Bianca Belair.
Bianca.
Yeah, she's just this generation. She's always going to win. She's always going to be put in situations where she can't possibly overcome this, and then she does quite easily. And as we saw with John, that really backfired on him a lot.
Yeah.
So I hope that doesn't happen to Bella.
I think the difference is that Bianca is really good. Like, she's in ring, every single match is a banger. And I think that if you deploy her properly, you can use her as this kind of like, all right, I'll take you down, in a way that John was a little bit more Fruity Pebbles, shiny, happy, smiley face.
Yeah.
Bianca has those qualities, but she also has that great underdog story and is a different quality in ring, I think, to John. So it's like, she could get boring quite easily, especially when she cuts the same promo.
That's my worry. And like putting her into this feud again with Damage Control, I just don't think is going to help her, and it's really not going to help Bayley either.
Yeah,
I wish they had separate them out for a bit.
Yeah.
Make us want to see them come back.
I think that's fair. And Benjamin Gabriel is a member for 7 months. We'll only care for Lesnar's return if Lashley beats him, and we don't see Lesnar for another 2 months.
I don't think it's out of the realms that Lashley might win at Crown Jewel. You know.
Yeah, he's there for a little paycheck, isn't he? So. Lesnar, I mean, so Lesnar's someone who's not hurt by a loss. We see this again and again, especially with Lashley in Crown Jewel.
Would that have mean that Lesnar, I suppose he did win at Elimination Chamber, but that would have mean all of his pay-per-view appearances he only won 1 in the year, because he lost at the Rumble, then he won at Chamber, lost at Mania, lost at SummerSlam, and he would have lost at Crown Jewel. In the 5, he'd have lost 4 out of his 5. Seems very unlike Brock.
The opposite streak.
Paul, he was going to slide in when he wins.
Yeah.
You did it!
That's when they get back. Yeah, that's what it's all been leading to. AJZM297. I also thought Jay was going to interfere, but I thought he would hit Sami. Sami would win so Jay could say what he was just doing what Roman told him to. Yeah. Same. German Chavez. Hey, how do you guys sleep? Also, Luke, I'm hosting a Quizlemania with my friends tonight, but based on video games and Pokemon. Already have a few, but any round suggestions?
Can you do Whose Nips Are These, but with Pokemon?
Thought you meant, as in like, whose Pokemon nipples?
Yeah. Like,
who has nipples in Pokemon?
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm asking. I mean, I don't know a lot about Pokemon. I've said on this show many times before, I've made the joke that I was too old for Pokemon. People were like, you were the right age for Pokemon. I was like, no, because when I was in year 8 is when Pokemon became big in the UK. And Pokemon was something that the year 7s were into. So you weren't allowed to be into something that the year 7s were into, because year 7s are lame. We're cool and we're year 8.
See, not even Machamp has nipples. There's Machamp.
So in which case, can you do... what other rounds do we do? You could do Herd Mentality. Is a good one to do. Wavelength might be a fun one to do.
I mean, you could, if you can find some very... Oh, Hitmonchan's got a nice little outfit on, so you won't see Hitmonchan's nipples. Maybe that's the game. Maybe you give them a 5-minute task and see if you can find a Pokemon who likely would have nipples and whether they indeed do. Yeah,
and I mean, what you could do is do Battle Nips, where you would say, where do his nips go? So you can
pin the nipple on the Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a real problem with this part of the show. I'm going to go in a second.
Last one here from George, who's been a member for 13 months in a row, said, hey guys, I want to know why you thought the crowd was so dead for the Johnny Theory match. Shocked me a little bit. A little salty there was no Bray.
It was because the crowd were hot. Like, because we've seen a few, especially because the Philadelphia crowd were dead silent for the majority of the show. I don't think their fault. I think they were on fire for the first match, and then the second match sucked all the life out of them, and then it was just a case of let's wait for Bray. This time, I don't know. I thought for the most part, the crowd was pretty hot.
It's, for me, I think it's because, as we talked about earlier, they bought tickets for 3 things.
Right.
They bought tickets for DX, Bloodline, DX, Roman, and therefore the Bloodline, because they were really into Sami and Bray.
And I think this match was a crisp and clean match that I really entertained, I really enjoyed, especially with the commentary. But I think maybe live crowd, it wasn't as flashy as I think Theory Gargano could be. Maybe that.
I think for me, like when you kind of...
I mean, that apron brainbuster was...
Oh, it was great.
I jumped out of my seat.
But I think if you've got, like, you know, you look at the way the show was structured, if you kind of take into consideration what people bought tickets for. Show opened with DX.
Yeah.
Then it was a Bray announcement. Then it was the Bloodline. So the crowd are already kind of at their fever pitch. They've already got a lot of their cheers out of their system. So when you just chant, like, you know, Gargano in Theory now, it's like, well, it's not really what I came to see.
Right.
So it's not the same Barclays Center that was there for the takeovers.
That's true. That's true.
It's a different audience.
Yeah.
So what you've got is a guy that you're probably not that familiar with versus a guy that loses all the time and is made to look like a joke a lot of the time. So you're probably not going to be hugely into it. I don't think, anyway.
But that's something that they can turn around if they continue to deliver matches of the quality that they have been.
Absolutely. Anywho, I think that is going to wrap it up for this episode. Apologies for going slightly over time, but please do click the link in the video description down below to go to Surfshark and get yourself the VPN of WrestleTalk's choice. Get access to the WWE Network. Get iPlayer over in the US, all for watch Taskmaster. It's the best. It's the best show on TV, lad. Bake Off.
Bake Off.
Watch the new series of Bake Off.
Yeah.
Reps.
I haven't seen the end of the episode. Did she go?
She's the best.
Oh, she's the best. Okay.
So, thank you all so much for watching. We will see you on Thursday for the AEW review. Take care, everyone. Jam that jam.